It's the third event of the season for the Caterham Motorsport Championships, and this week the action comes to you from the world-famous Brands Hatch circuit in the southeast of England. First up is the combined race for the 310Rs and the Caterham 7 UK Championship. Experienced Caterham racer Henry Heaton is currently sat third in the points, but he was far from complimentary about his qualifying performance this weekend.
Awful. I binned it on the first lap of qualifying, despite racing these cars for 7-8 years now. My experience obviously left me and went straight off on cold tyres. That's my excuse out of the way. On the first lap, so there was a bit of a rush job to get the car fixed. Big thank you to Caterham for helping with that and the other, support in the paddock. Great paddock, and got the car out and managed to get out for the first race of the day and not miss out. I plan on staying with Caterham. The value for money, the competitive nature of the championship, the paddock atmosphere. There's a lot of things that are going for it, and love racing. It takes a lot of commitment to race, but my future plans are, if I can, I'll be continuing to stay with the Caterham 7 UK Championship for certainly for 2021, if not for longer.
Cars heading round to the grid then ahead of our second race of the weekend. The grid for this one based upon the results from race 1. So it's the championship leader John Byrne, who won again yesterday in the Caterham 7 UK Championship, who lines up on pole position, whilst in the 310Rs Tom Grensinger was a race winner. He moves to third in the championship as a result. The lights go out, away we go. We're racing at Brands Hatch. Good start made from the outside of row 1 there by Stephen Nuttall. The black car gets his nose alongside John Byrne. Can't quite get the lead away. There was a bit of bodywork flying from the midfield there. Hopefully no real damage done as they drop through Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Fairly orderly amongst the leaders, but back in the 310R ranks they are 2 and 3 wide still as they make their way up the hill towards Druids. Through the right-hander, back down the hill, and Stephen Nuttall really applying the pressure here to John Byrne, who has won every one of the 5 races we've had so far this year in the Caterham 7 UK Championship, and he's scored maximum points from the Super Bowl sessions as well. Can anybody stop him? Well, Stephen Nuttall certainly hopes that he can. 310Rs come through, still jockeying for position. Look, as they head through the left-hander at Surtees. We ride on board with Chris Moore, who is right in the middle of this group. He was 5th in the 310R race yesterday, and that is also the position he occupies in the championship. A little way adrift of the top 4. Greg Monks, James Murphy, Tom Grensinger and Lewis Thompson are covered by just 4 points at the top of the table as we move into the second half of the year now. The brakes into the first corner. That is James Murphy, the black and orange 103 DPR motorsport car, right in front of Chris Moore, and James goes to the inside to try and make a move, gets blocked, and that hurts his momentum, so Chris sails round the outside of James Murphy, and that will buy him a ticket to the inside line down at Graham Hill Bend. This might just work. If he's late on the brakes, he gets to the apex first. Nice stuff there. It's a brave man that goes around the outside of Druids. That is your reward if you can make it stick. So Chris Moore then into the left-hander at Surtees, and James Murphy now trying to fend off more cars as they head into the right-hander at Clearways. Back along the start-finish line they go once again. Chris Moore looking to try and score some big points here if he can. At the front of the field, John Byrne still leads the way. Stephen Nuttall is second. Third place is Gordon Sawyer. The yellow machine started 5th on the grid, but the 92 car is up into a podium place already. Almost contact there as Chris Moore slammed the door in the face of, I think that was Lewis Thompson trying to get up the inside into Paddock Hill Bend. Lewis in the end was not quite far enough alongside to command the corner though, and so Chris Moore hangs on to the place. Brilliant onboard footage here from Chris's car. You can see just how little margin for error there is. Lots of braking zones at Brands Hatch where you're braking on a turn and the edge of the circuit comes up to meet you very, very quickly. Surtees, a full commitment left-hander. Treble 1 car is still trying to fight its way up the order. Hooks up the apex nicely, heads across the start-finish line. This is where the slipstream starts to take effect, although it is not such a slipstream-friendly circuit as some others that they race at, so it is a little harder to overtake here as a result. Something that Rob Watts is discovering there as he tries to go around the outside of Ian Sparshot, who has shed a wing already from the rear of the car. I imagine it was his wheel arch that we saw flying into the air at the start of the race. That won't affect the performance of the car too much. But certainly he doesn't look as though he's able to escape the clutches of Rob Watts for the time being. to the 310Rs then. James Murphy looks to have got himself back to the front of that particular queue of cars. So James Murphy, second place in the championship, is going well, but Chris Moore is heading for the barriers, just avoids them. But that is not what Chris Moore needed. He was in a bit of a hole as far as the championship points were concerned already, and needed to try and start winning races if he could. Chris Moore is not going to win this one. He spins, he rejoins with no damage, but a long way behind the rest of the cars he was racing with before. Chris still yet to have a podium in the 310Rs this year. That podium is not going to come today. That's a shame for Chris, but the battling continues amongst the front runners in the Caterham 7 UK Championship, and actually no one really escaping out in front. John Byrne has not been able to put on the sort of clinic that we've seen from the past. There's contact there though. James Murphy gets rear-ended going into Druid's corner, and that was the 148 car that went into the back of him, into the braking zone. That is a disaster. Here's the replay. Murphy minding his own business and gets absolutely wiped out from behind. And that was Tom Grensinger. So Tom Grensinger third in the championship, hits James Murphy second in the championship. That could prove to be really significant when we get to the end of the year. Board with Henry Heaton now, back amongst the Caterham 7 UK Championship contenders. Henry Heaton still looking for his first victory of the year as well. Stephen Nuttall there defending from Jake Swan-Dixon, and whilst all of this is going on, that little red dot is now a lot further away in the distance. That is John Byrne, the race leader. This is the fight that is going on behind him, and it is an almighty battle, this, isn't it, between Nuttall, Jake Swan-Dixon, we've got Gordon Sawyer in there, and then Henry Heaton, the blue car at the back of the group. There is your race leader, and this is situation normal, really, for John Byrne. Undefeated so far in 2020, and so far so good in this 6th round of the championship as well at Brands Hatch. Spin up at the top of the course there at Druids. That is Chris Welch in the 168 car, who's had, looks like a harmless rotation. And this would appear to be how he did it. Went for a move on the inside, locks the rear brakes to try and avoid hitting Gary Curtis's 122 car. And that was probably the sensible approach, otherwise they both would have ended up pointing the wrong way. But that has definitely hampered his chances of scoring decent points here today. John Byrne on for some decent points in the Caterham 7 UK Championship. Look at this scrap that is still going on some way behind him. Stephen Nuttall there trying to work his way through on the inside line past some of the 310R cars now. James Murphy is getting himself into more bother now as he tries to go around the outside of the 105 car there of Greg Monks. Greg Monks and James Murphy are the top 2 drivers in the championship this year. And with the problems being suffered now by Tom Grensinger and Chris Moore, they're going to extend that margin, but they are only separated by a point, the two of them, so that is a really important battle to be resolved. Henry Heaton comes across the start-finish line then, heads towards Paddock Hill Bend for another lap, and he is now right in the thick of the battle. He's on the inside of Gordon Sawyer here into the right-hander, hits the curb, hits Gordon Sawyer, they're both off the road. Gordon Sawyer and Henry Heaton into the Paddock Hill Bend gravel trap. You could see that coming a mile away. Neither driver was willing to give way. Heaton rejoins the circuit before Gordon Sawyer does. In fact, it's not a guarantee that Sawyer is going to get out of the gravel trap. That was a long way off the road. And, well, Henry Heaton, sadly, his bad fortune continues. John Byrne, though, takes the race victory for the 6th time from 6 races this year in the Caterham 7 UK Championship. A dominant display in the end. Henry Heaton were on board with him. Looks as though he's going to come home outside the top 5. I think 7th place is the best that Henry Heaton can manage after that moment he had with Gordon Sawyer, who I think is still stuck in the Paddock Hill Bend gravel trap. Well, a dramatic end to the race at the very front of the field. And here is how they finished it with, in the 310R part of the race, Pete Walters, Greg Monks and James Murphy making up the top 3. Another win for James Murphy, whilst in the Caterham 7 UK Championship it was Jake Swan-Dixon 3rd, Stephen Nuttall 2nd, but another win for John Byrne.
From the start I started to make a nice little getaway. I think I was about probably a second or 2 ahead, every lap just gradually pulling and pulling. And then when the back markers came, it's all about just trying to find the right place to do it at the right time. I don't want to mess their race up, but also I don't want it to hinder me. So I just always kind of let them get into the braking points. On the way exits, I use the extra power I've got to do them down the straights to save both of us.
Yeah, John got a bit of a break at the start, but I could stay with him for a while. But as soon as we hit the traffic, he's good through the traffic. And yeah, I struggled to get the first few out the way, and that just gave enough of a break for John.
Great race for Stephen at the beginning, didn't quite get it, unfortunately the back markers broke us up a bit, and then had a brilliant tussle with Gordon and Henry afterwards, and luckily managed to pip him at the end, so no, really happy.
kind of do or die. I had a situation yesterday where it didn't go for me. Today I kept the lead, and as I came through, managed to use them to get a bit of a gap, and then it was qualifying lap after lap after lap, and yeah, it was enough. Really, really thrilled to get it done today.
So John Byrne extends his championship lead in the Caterham 7 UK Championship, whilst that off for Henry Heaton sees him drop to third in the points. In the 310Rs, James Murphy is just 2 points clear of Greg Monks, and Tom Grensinger and Chris Moore the big losers today.